Hello there, this is Rom Wills with the lovely Miss Mocha Angel, and we'll be talking about the latest Insecure episode, episode 3, Low-Key Thankful. What were your first impressions, dear?
It was juicy. And there was a lot going on. I mean, a lot going on.
Yeah, it was. It was 2 months before the party, and it's interesting just the individuals because all right, they started out with Lawrence, right?
Right.
He was practicing a presentation. It's like, oh, okay, he was at his place, but then Condalea was right there, and she had that crazy alarm and everything, and then we see him go into his office, and it was supposed to be some meeting, but apparently something went wrong, and then we later find out his company, they about to lay off a bunch of people. He think he's safe for now, though, right? What did you see in all of that?
I just saw a brother trying to do something positive, trying to rise, and I don't know. We're about to find out what happens at his company.
Yeah, and that's going to be an interesting thing because he had been rising for a while now. That was his thing. So what happens if he is let go? So that's something to look into, and how does it affect what he's doing now and everything. And then, well, I don't know. You want to save the Friendsgiving for like last?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll save that for last. What about I don't know. Issa, Molly, which one you want to start in on?
First of all, can I just say this? Is the mom. Is that Wendy Raquel Robinson? Is that who their mom is? The chick from The Game and Steve Harvey show?
I wasn't even looking like that.
Yes, I was like, wait, who? What?
Hey, Issa Rae make sure people work, but yeah, and they weren't even there they didn't even want to hang out at the house, because that's her stepfather, right?
I think that's her mom's boyfriend. I don't think they're married. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. They were like her and her brother, like, oh, we don't want to deal with the twins.
Yeah.
But you know what though? Just well, getting on Molly, you said you had some stuff to say about her.
Definitely. Stuff I've been wanting to say for a couple of weeks. Okay, so Molly goes home for Thanksgiving. The whole family's there. And she's still salty with Dad because she found out a few months ago that he had the affair years ago and all that stuff. So she still hasn't forgiven him.
Yeah.
Even though Mom's over it, the brothers are over it. I guess because she was new to the whole situation.
Yeah.
Here's my thing about Molly. So she has, we all have misbeliefs that we develop in our childhood. So her misbelief was that her parents' marriage was perfect. So therefore, she should have a marriage that's perfect too. And this black and white thinking and this very simplistic way of looking at relationships has hurt her because I think she missed the complexity that it takes to have a marriage or any relationship. So now, and I say that to say, when you're a child, there's only certain things you should know about your parents' marriage. You shouldn't really know the intimate details. But I'm just saying she seems to be stuck in like the fantasy of marriage rather than the reality of marriage. So clearly her mom knows what's up. Her mom understands all of that. She's the one who worked through it with her husband. And Molly's still stuck at, you cheated on my mom. And she hasn't gotten past that, where her brother's like, hello, yes, he did wrong. He stepped up, he admitted it, and they worked on their marriage and they still together. And so can you please look at the positive side of this, not just the negative? And so she was like, okay, I'll think about it. But to me, it's that misbelief that has hurt her all these years. She doesn't know how to navigate the subtleties that it takes to work through a relationship. So that's my take on Molly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nah, I agree with you on all of that because it seems like there's two different worlds. Because, like, okay, she's a 92 climber. She's, doing the law school thing, all sophisticated. But as you see, her family just very down to earth and everything. Yeah. Totally, like the girlfriends, wives, whoever these women are, they represent, and they were cool with it. It's like Molly was kind of out of place, and that happens with a lot of women who come from that environment, but then they trying to climb into like another social class.
Right.
You know, and that was actually a normal family. I mean, you know, they had what, 1,000 crosses in there, and you know, the wives, girlfriends, whatever. They weren't even sure about that pregnant one. They were just like,
no. Yeah, she was a maybe. The baby was a maybe, but you know.
Exactly. And then you know, but we ain't gonna give a spoiler alert at the end and stuff, but it's kind of good how that kind of resolved, or at least began to resolve.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, so shoot, we just put spoilers on here. You know, she at least brought the man something and sat down next to him. You know, she wasn't like hugging him and stuff, but it's like, okay, because her brother had to call her on her stuff.
Right. So she bought her dad a piece of sweet potato pie, I guess, at the end, and then went ahead and played, you know, taboo with him. So.
Okay. Yeah, and then I mean, you know, let's get back to Issa now.
Okay. Go ahead.
That was interesting because first Lawrence runs into Issa at that what was that, coffee shop, tea shop?
Some bougie place, you know.
Yeah, some bougie place. That Condola is that
Condola.
I don't know why I keep wanting to say Condola. Oh yeah, well, you know, Condola. Yeah. Okay.
You want to say Condoleezza? Is that what you want to
say? Yeah. But yeah, that's another story. But anyway, so
go ahead.
What is interesting, okay, they walk in and they just totally click, just did what they usually used to do, be talking about different films, and Condola just kind of walks, you know, she kind of sees it and everything, and then, you know, they cool, and then Issa ends up just leaving, but then she's looking back as Lawrence and Condola are hugging and everything.
Right.
So that's the beginning of something. But then there's, you know, next we see her in the grocery store, her and Molly. You could see the tension right there.
Man, yes.
You know, you could see the tension. I mean, they were just like, you know, Molly she's saying she's still mad at her father, you know, and then she tells Issa that her and Andrew are together, and Issa kind of like, shoot, that's young, y'all a couple already, and Molly just kind of stops and look at her.
Right.
You know? And you just kind of feel all of that. It's like the tension is there, and it's like, okay, we're getting closer and closer to what the flash forward was.
Right, exactly. Right. So also in that too, they also say we should talk about this. Again, the elephant in the room, something's wrong here between the two of us. So they had planned on talking after Thanksgiving, like after they see their families. That was the plan. And that plan didn't quite work out. So, yeah. So, and again, it just, kind of reminds me of a Key and Peele skit about texting, about how you mean one thing on one end and the other person on the other end take it a different way. Yeah. You know, and so it was just like, East was like, I don't know if I feel like doing this tonight because I know it's going to be ugly. And then Molly was like, girl, whatever, bye, do you. You know, whatever. So it didn't work out. So once again, they're not talking.
Yeah, so it's just like, oh, okay. Bad. It was crazy. And but one of the interesting things was when they had a conversation about the whole situation. She had a conversation rather with her brother about the whole situation with Condola and Lawrence, because she felt like, okay, she was with Lawrence when he was just a guy with potential.
Correct.
She did the work. She paid because she felt like, okay, at that coffee place, he probably paid for everything. Right. And then she's like, well, he had the potential but then Condola is reaping the benefits. So that's an interesting story angle now, because at first it looked like she'd be cool, but now it's like, oh, okay, she's going to be looking at this like, okay, Lawrence, she getting what I work for. And I know many women, shoot, you told me about some who, you know, they do all the work, but they like, nah, we ain't letting him go to this other woman or something. And I'm just like,
shook my head and went, yes, child. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, you hate that. You're like, damn, I went through all of this. I know a lot of women go through that. I don't know about for us. And we funny about it, you know. We funny like that. But So that's an interesting thing. And then the
Mm.
Friendsgiving.
I'll let you take that. Go ahead. Go, you start.
Well, you know what? Okay. From the previews, I thought it'd be more bougie. And it was still that. It was
It
still
was
there.
crazy.
It was interesting because
Mm.
that kind of showed her world more. You kind of had the progressive lesbian couple. You can look at them and say,
Right.
oh, okay. You had the probably
Mm.
French brother. That sounded like French,
He
Francais.
was like French African, yeah.
Yeah, but of course, he had the white woman.
Right, of course he do.
And
Hmm.
then you had the kind of calm brother, and he had the woman who I
Right.
thought, wow, she got some hood in her. I'm like, because she got all drunk and she got all loose.
Yes, yes. So again, just like what I said about Homegirl from Steve Harvey, that was Robin Thede. And she was a sister who had her own talk show on BET.
Oh,
And
okay.
it got canceled. So, and I think she has a show on HBO too, the Black Lady Sketch Show. So she's like a comedian. And when I saw her, I was like, whoa, okay, here we go. This is good casting. And I knew she was going to say something crazy. I know they were going to put the craziness in her mouth. And
Mm-hmm.
so basically, she got really drunk and she pulled Lawrence into the kitchen. She followed him to when he went to get drinks for everybody. And she was basically like, oh, it's so good to see that Condola's having fun after her divorce. And, I'm just glad to see her just having fun and just kicking it with another brother. In other words, she's basically saying Condola's using him for sex and for fun. That's basically what she said.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, it's like that. Oh, another thing too was Condola said she didn't want to get married again when she was
Mm.
talking to everybody, you know. And then he was like, oh, really? Because he wants to get married and have kids. That's what he wants. He
Yeah.
wants a family. And right now, that's not what she wants. So then you take the whole confrontation from there with her between him and Condola.
Well, even before that, she
Mhm.
didn't, he had to kind of invite himself over.
Oh, that's right. He did. He invited himself. Yeah.
Yeah, because she wasn't like, she was ready to chill, and she was just like, and that
Right.
probably put some in his head about,
Mhm.
oh, this is just for fun, this ain't serious, you know.
Right.
And now all of a sudden it's like the first relationship was looking great, all of that. Now it's like, okay, some of the cracks coming out because
Mhm.
it had to be something there. First of all, her husband left her,
Right.
you
Okay.
know. So it's like, well, and she don't want to get married, and all of a sudden we
Mhm.
see, well, Lawrence is looking more to the future. He trying to
Right.
move up in the world, and he came
Right.
from an intact family. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
He came from an intact family, strong. We need to see his mom one time, but
We haven't
it's
seen her yet.
yeah,
So
they need to have somebody good play her when they
okay.
do. But you know what I mean? So he's gonna follow that because men in general, if they come from an intact environment,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, he went through his little player phase, but he
Yeah,
definitely wants that family. But
definitely.
he's
Yeah.
questioning what she really want, and that was tense because he was like, am I just
Mhm.
your fuck buddy?
Yes. Yes.
And then she's looking at it differently. So it's like, and you know what, that's an interesting thing because then,
Yeah.
once he got home, he was
Hmm.
seeing all the videos from all the people, but he actually
Right.
liked Issa's video.
Right.
But I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, oh man. So it's like all of a sudden, it's like, he was asking if she was over her husband,
Right.
but he might as well had asked himself, is he really over Issa?
Right. That's true. However, she didn't really answer the question. You see what?
Mm,
She didn't answer the question. She was like, "Wait, how did it get to be about him?" I was like, "Oh, that was my first thought. Was you didn't answer the question? Stop, okay?"
mm-hmm.
And then with him, so then of course she turned it on him. Like, "Are you over Issa? Would you still be with her if she had cheated on you?" And he didn't answer the question either.
Yeah. Now that's a serious thing though, because it was like, yeah, he did that in reaction, but what if that thing didn't happen?
Yeah.
And then now it's like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
because at first they were looking like that couple was just they're going to sell through everything
Right.
great, you
Mhm.
know, Condola is really closer to Lawrence's actual social class,
Right.
which I've been talking about lately on here. And it's like, oh, but then you see, well, wait a minute, maybe they have two different goals,
Correct.
Yeah, so, and that's the thing. It's all, I mean, that's the main thing on here is the relationships. All this stuff happens in the real world because,
Right.
all right, so you still had this situation, Lawrence still with Condola, but then Issa's being friends with Condola. But
Right.
then you got, Issa Price, she looking at him, and Lawrence gonna be start looking at her, and y'all trying to do all this stuff business wise. And you know what's interesting? This will be interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
When Issa's on the phone in that flash forward, we don't know who she's talking to.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we don't know who she's talking to. I mean, you watch the first couple of episodes and you thinking, okay, she was probably talking to Condola. They would be great friends, but she could have been talking to Lawrence.
Yeah. No, she could have been talking to Lawrence. She could have been talking to her brother. She could have been talking to her mom. She could have been talking to a number of people, and we'll find out. We'll find out.
We'll find out. But you know what? Overall, what would you give that episode?
I get an episode of 9.5, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay.
That's the highest I think I've ever rated an Insecure episode. I was watching it going, it had a lot of energy, a lot of energy. There was a lot going on. I mean, you really had to pay attention, and it was hilarious. And I was like, oh, we got jokes tonight. Okay. So that little time just flew by. I thought it was a great episode.
You know what? And I've said the same thing because, sometimes you be sitting there like, but it was like, wait, this is flying through here. This is flying. Had some funny parts like when Lawrence had to fix that sink, or he told Condola to fix her sink, and he look up something, and we got a brother in there, had his bush on, online. And he say, yeah, this how you lay some pipe. Something like that.
Hilarious. Okay. It was fantastic. It was definitely one of the best episodes I've seen of Insecure.
I agree with you because it brought out a lot of small tension. You saw the tensions, and even had Trina in it. Apparently, her and Kelly got to be good friends.
I thought that was her. That was her at the end with the Jack Daniels or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was her.
That makes sense because Kelly, she got that job, but she embraces her hood.
Completely. I mean, and you got to see, the different kinds of Thanksgivings that Black folks throw. And like the one that Molly's house, that was the one I'm more used to. Because the one at Condola's house, I've never seen people dress up like that for Thanksgiving. I was like, who does that? But that's not, who the kind of people I hang around. Not that there's anything wrong with that, like they say on Seinfeld. I'm just saying they were more bougie. Okay. Yeah. And you got to see Chad, and you got to see, Tiffany pregnant, and and actually, and I saw a little bit of wistfulness in Lawrence when he was looking at that video, with her pregnant, and and because that's what he wants, like I said. And then when he got to Issa, he was like, and maybe that's who I want it with. It's not quite over, not between the two of them. I don't think it's over.
And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. It's a lot of stuff. And 9.5, hey, that's something from you.
That's a lot for me.
Yeah, it's a good episode. You give it an 8. You like 9.5.
It was really good.
No, it really was. And it'd be interesting to see what's happening next week because they showed a preview and, Tiffany had the baby and, Lawrence is over their house and, Derek is like, hey, you want to pick her up? And, all of a sudden, boom. Because one of the things, too, it showed more of Lawrence because I'm going to tell you what. Lawrence is probably the most complex character on there, believe it or not. Even though, the show is supposedly centered on Issa and Molly, if you think about the complexity of Lawrence, because, we first see him, he's just some dude sitting on a couch. All of a sudden now he's like, he come from kind of a more upper middle class family. He's driving a Jaguar, but it's his father's Jaguar. He's moving up in the company and, he's doing a lot. He's actually going forward and stuff. And now we're seeing all these complexities. He was briefly a college athlete.
Right.
And now, we saw him last year when he came back in. He was just player. Now
Right.
it's like, oh wait, he really deep down wants to be a family man. In fact, I had one of my commenters actually say, this thing's more about Lawrence. And Lawrence is always an issue because I saw something last week. Somebody else did a review and they were like, oh no, we still hate Lawrence.
No.
It's amazing, but this
No.
is a reality. This is reality, even though it's ostensibly a woman's show.
Mm-hmm.
You seeing the complexity of the male characters in here, and that's very important in the
Absolutely.
relationships. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would just say again, we all know what happened with Lawrence and Issa. And I'm sure a lot of men hate Issa because of what she did. And a lot of women are like, oh, they get back together. And honestly, I'm somewhere in the middle. Honestly.
okay,
But I don't, it's insecure. Will they probably get back together? Probably. But I'm saying in real life, the two of them would have to have a hell of a lot of work to do for them to trust each other again, period.
yeah,
And
they would.
so I hope it ends on a more realistic note. I think this is the last season, and
Okay.
be more realistic for them to just say, okay, well, let's just try, or let's just talk about it. Not like, oh, they're back together and getting married and having a baby. That's not realistic. That's not
No,
it. No,
no, not at
no,
all.
no.
Not at all. And I would hope they do the same thing, but just the way it's going, it is showing the real nuances. And like
Mhm.
the thing would be the best thing is like, oh yeah, let's just talk or something.
So, that's
But
it.
yeah, if they slobbing each other down at the end and walking down the aisle, I'm like, you blew it. I
Right,
ain't feeling y'all. I ain't feeling y'all. I'm throwing something. Well, I'm throwing something near the TV. I got a nice TV, so I'm
right,
gonna throw it
right.
at the TV.
No, I'm with you. I would be like, no, that would be like on the Parkers. I know I'm showing my age, but on the Parkers when Nikki and the professor got married. I mean, that dude looked like he looked constipated. Okay, when he was walking down the aisle, because it was like this makes no sense. This makes no sense whatsoever. So the two of them hooking up, getting married, that would just be dumb. Don't do that, y'all. No.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, yeah, because any relationship has to be built through, and they still got to deal with the issues that even got them to that point anyway.
Right. Correct.
Because we still don't know where Nathan's at.
That is true. Will this brother reappear or not?
Yeah, that's the thing. So there's going to be some stuff there. So anyway, though, once again, thank you for sharing
Thank
this, and everyone, we'll be back next week doing a review of Insecure. So y'all have a good time. Comment in the say what you got in the comments,
you.
and peace and many blessings.
Bye, y'all.